Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes.
Where I bring the tea and you bring the crime.
Nailed it. Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got a cup of tea today, and I have to say, I'm going to stay in my lane, but I have to say it's from your favorite company, and I read the description, and I have to agree with you.
Twinings?
It's redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Twinings. Hire me. I can do some good descriptions.
Yeah, they might be a little weird, but they will be
They'll be
unique.
captivating.
Absolutely. They'll be art.
It's art.
Yeah. But I'm drinking Lady Grey today.
Oh, I had a little Earl Grey this morning in a little cup.
What a beautiful couple we make.
That's a big cup.
So, thank you.
It's like as big as your face.
Yeah, I know. And it's hard for my little baby hands. Imagine it's like slappy. I need two hands sometimes to get it to down the pipes, as you say. So how are you? You've been traveling all over the country this week.
I've hit almost every time zone, which is really fun for me.
How's your body feel about that?
Not great. I have a really bad headache. I'm waiting for the Tylenol to kick in.
Sorry.
Just a little low on the sleep and all that, but it could have been worse. It could always be worse.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
You know how it's common knowledge that I hate the term wet signature?
Yes.
Well, my coworkers found out, and then I've been getting nothing but articles about the wet dress rehearsal for the rocket launch.
For SpaceX that exploded?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would you call it a wet dress rehearsal? Why?
Well, you read the article. Why is it called that?
I stopped after rehearsal because I was disgusted.
Now I need to know. Is it because they're using fuel? That's wet.
I mean, is that necessary, though? Do we need to do that?
Why is it called wet?
Exactly.
I need to know now.
Exactly. You're looking it up.
I really need to know. Okay, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I know.
I hate when things don't make sense.
I glanced, and all I kept seeing was the term wet dress rehearsal, and I had to get out of it.
Yeah, I saw an article that, so they launched it and exploded and messed up part of the Texas desert, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, animals and cactus.
Just the one.
Just the grandmother cactus. I am sorry.
Everybody else, all the other cacti deserved it. All right, before we get into your tea review, give us an animal update. You get squirrels, roosters, rats, hedgehogs. What's going on?
Oh my God, I wish we had a hedgehog.
What do you still have at your house? Tell me.
We don't. The squirrels are gone and the rooster's gone.
As in they found other homes?
So the squirrel, I think we talked about this last time, where the squirrels, there was two as siblings. We had them since before they could open their eyes. Bottle fed them every 3 hours. They got big enough, active enough that they go to an outdoor enclosure. And then once they seem ready, that's not our enclosure, that's the rescue's enclosure. And then once they seem ready, the rescue will open the gate and they can just leave into the wild.
Do they? Do they just walk right out?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll come back in, though, if you don't close it. They're like, oh, this is safe.
And what about Rooster?
So Rooster, we found a rescue, a big wildlife refuge in Picayune, Mississippi, which is not too far. It's 2 hours from here. And someone came and picked him up. I feel kind of bad because I know Chris probably would have liked to keep that rooster.
Well, you're kind of full up at the inn.
Yeah.
Is he getting rooster lessons?
Well, we'll see, because he'll hopefully be around other roosters, so maybe hopefully he doesn't get bullied again.
Yeah, that hasn't helped him in the past.
No, it hasn't. Who knows? Poor
Good
guy.
luck to your rooster.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for a tea today, madam?
I have something fun that you hate.
Oh,
So
double fun, huh?
I know that it's been featured on the podcast before, but like not my review. It was your review.
Ugh.
So I
Gross.
have milk green tea with boba. Chris and I
Gross.
checked out a new place in the neighborhood. And I think actually some of the food there got me sick. So hopefully this doesn't translate into the
Yeah, so I
kids.
definitely would have gone back.
No, it was all one trip because I was like, I'm gonna get
Oh.
everything because if we might never come back here. So
Okay, and all right. So I like how you live on the edge. Are you gonna nibble a little bit and see if you die, or are we going all in?
I mean, we're gonna go.
Well, if you disappear halfway through the podcast, we all understand that she has bubble gut and
Yeah.
she'll be back later.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even mean it like that. Bubble gut. That's just what you say. But
Oh, good job.
thank you. Thank you. I'm on a streak for accidental puns the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's our ASMR.
I hate it so much.
Sorry. Okay. It's very sweet. It's very sweet.
Well, how much sugar did you get in it? Did you get full sweet? 100%?
Not all of them do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was just my discerning tea shop.
That was it. Did you go to Ding Tea?
I couldn't tell you. I just know
You
that it
blacked
costs.
out.
Yeah, it costs $1 billion roughly
No.
with
Because you
TTC
got
math.
it delivered, right?
Yeah, because they weren't open the day that we recorded. So to get it delivered like within like express delivery within 5 minutes of closing. Yeah. Cost me a week's salary for that.
Oh boy.
I'm exaggerating a little bit.
Got some of the balls.
Okay.
Chewing on them.
Stop.
All right.
And you enjoy this.
I do enjoy it. I don't love this flavor. So I usually get like just a basic milk tea or a Thai tea, but I was like, I don't want too much caffeine. And so I was like, green tea has less, but it feels very unnatural. So it's a very slim body. It's bright green. I'll show you on the Instagram, listeners.
There you go. You're getting it.
It is too sweet. It needs to be tempered down either, I guess, with black tea with some more body or just like pull it back on the sugar. I think just generally everybody should just pull it back on the sugar. I think things would be better that way across the board.
I don't know if candy would be super
Correct.
successful
You're
with
right.
less sugar.
I was just thinking about my sour belts. I'm trying to think if I ever talked about my scabby tongue on this podcast.
Excuse me?
Oh, yeah. I can't control myself around sour candy once I ate so much that my tongue scabbed over.
That's the most disgusting thing you've ever said.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
I don't even understand how that's possible.
Because if you eat too much sour, it's like very rough on your mouth. And so I just had so much of it and I developed a scab.
That's so gross.
Anyways.
My son's inherited that somehow from you. He loves sour candy.
Yeah. Well, during your pregnancy, I mean, Brad and I split time basically because you were always with me at work. And so,
That's right. Yeah,
and
so
basically the third parent.
Well, actually, you're a stepmother. Didn't you hear the news? He goes around telling everybody that you and Brad are getting married. And he thinks it's hilarious. He thinks it's very funny. He's like, hey, mommy, guess what? Daddy's going to marry Alana. And I'm like, oh, well, good luck to her. So, yeah, you're just a bonus mom.
I am. So this is and this is hyphenated. Well, only the first 2 words are too sweet, thumbs down.
What kind of two?
TOO.
Okay, well, I didn't know if it was 2 thumbs down. If it was like, because if this was like the opposite of 2 thrusting thumbs.
No, I'm not going to be that harsh.
Thumbs down.
Because the boba is good.
So just 1, 2 sweet thumbs down.
Yeah, correct. You got it.
Catchy. Did you get that little clip of perfection twinnings? That's the kind of stuff she could write for you. Email her at teatimecrimes. Cool. Are you going to drink the rest of it through the episode?
I probably will. We'll see how far I get.
Okay. All right. So quick content warning before I hop into today's story. Today's case involves the death of a child. All right. Are you ready to get into the case?
Yes.
I'm not even going to tell you the title. I'm just going to jump in, okay? For hundreds of years, people have been using personal ads to find love.
Yes.
Marriage ads or lonely heart ads, and they were on the scene in Britain as early as the 1600s. And at that time,
Oh God, they
the
should have been
ads,
hilarious back then.
yes, they were. At that time, they were reading like a job description, a super weird job description,
Yeah.
but they would just list the things that they wanted. So it'd be like, woman wanted good teeth, full lips, pleasant figure. I know, gross. Good teeth were really important back in those days. I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense. The toothbrush situation,
Ugh.
lack of fluoride. And then others would take a different approach, especially if they were older, and they'd just be like, a man with a considerable fortune. Come on, ladies, right?
Wow.
Or they'd keep it vague and say things like, man with no physical deformities. Oh, great catch. These are actual phrases from
Wow.
personal ads in the 1600s. But over time, these ads would become more of a matchmaking service, and especially after World War II, correspondence clubs like the Lonely Hearts Club came out of this and formed this like romantic pen pal situation. So
Was
the club,
the Lonely Hearts Club for women?
men and women, yeah. So it would match you
Interesting.
with potential, with a potential suitor, and then you would write letters to each other to get to know each other.
Okay. I wonder at the mismatched ratio right after World War II because, like, obviously men are dying, so there's more women around.
There's a lot of widows for sure.
Yeah.
One man by the name of Raymond Fernandez decides to use the Lonely Hearts Club as his hunting ground.
For what?
I mean, it's a true crime podcast, so I'll let you connect the dots. Now,
No,
Raymond
thanks.
was born in Hawaii in 1914, but his family was originally from Spain. So as a young adult at the age of 20, he actually went back to Spain and he worked with his uncle there. He got married in Spain and he had 4 children. Now, when World War II hit, Raymond served for the Spanish Merchant Navy as well as British intelligence as a spy.
Oh.
But after his service, he decides to return to the US by himself. It's unclear if he was ever going to close the loop
Weird.
on that family or he was just deserting everybody. But he heads back to the US and he suffers a head injury on the ship on the way home. And it's pretty severe. He's in the hospital for months.
Whoa.
Yeah, and when he comes out of the hospital, those close to him said he had totally changed. His personality was totally different, which is something that can happen with traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah.
Plus, paired with some pretty awful stuff that he's just experienced in World War II.
Yeah, not the best one.
Yeah, it's very possible that those 2 elements are what led to what I'm about to tell you, or it could have been just always there, lying dormant, and chose this moment to come out. But he started stealing a lot once he was released from the hospital, which was also unusual. He hadn't done that before. He spent some time in jail, and while in jail, he had a roommate. No, not a roommate. Cellmate. That's it. They rented a cute little apartment off. Anyway, he had a cellmate who practiced voodoo. And so Raymond learned some voodoo and then was
Where's this person from?
pretty confident that he could do voodoo spells to make himself irresistible to women.
It's not how it works.
Well, he would beg to differ. So when Raymond gets out of jail, he's equipped with his voodoo spells and he starts corresponding to several different women at once. It's a whole operation.
God.
And he likes to target rich, insecure women.
Okay.
Those are really his only 2
Secure as in physically or emotionally? Probably he would like
He likes the combo.
insecure emotional.
Insecure. That's what I said.
Yes.
Insecure.
Oh, okay.
Insecure, yeah. And he actually asks for a picture and a lock of hair. And the picture is so that he can kind of determine how insecure he thinks they are by their appearance in the picture. He goes for a lot of older women, FYI.
Oh,
but also so that he can do his voodoo spells with the picture and the hair.
No.
Whatever. And he's got a ton of women that he's talking to, and he'll stop talking to them if he finds out they don't fit that. He uses a bunch of aliases. His most common one is the name Charles Martin.
Okay.
So in the fall of 1947, Raymond meets a woman via the letter, Jane Wilson Thompson. And they talk for weeks, and Jane has a nice spacious apartment in New York. Her mother, Pearl, lives with her, and she works at a hospital. She's a dietitian. Raymond goes to meet Jane for the first time in person in the fall. And by the end of September, he's already moved in with Jane and her mother. Yeah. They have this whirlwind romance. They get married and they go to Spain for their honeymoon.
Hope they don't run into the other wife.
Right? Well, Jane never returns from Spain. So Raymond comes home alone and he has to break the news to Pearl that her daughter has died. He sits her down and he says, listen, Jane suffered a terrible accident and she was hit by a train. He says,
that is
but
a terrible, terrible choice.
But before she died, she did have a chance to draft up a new will. So I now own everything in this apartment and the apartment. So you're going to have to move. Also, she had a life insurance policy and you're the beneficiary, but I'm going to need some money to cover her doctor bills. And Pearl said, why does she have doctor bills? You just told me she
got
was
hit by a
killed
train.
instantly. He said, oh, she actually had a heart attack before the train.
Oh my God.
And so I had to pay
Who
for doctors.
believes this guy? He's already terrible.
Oh, he's the worst. So Pearl gives him half of the life insurance policy. She has to pack up all her things and she leaves. So Raymond takes some of that money and he goes to Florida for the weekend to meet his next mark, a person he's been talking to for weeks named Martha Beck. Now, Martha was born and raised in Florida, and she's the perfect target for Raymond in terms of the emotional side of things. She grew up incredibly self-conscious of her appearance. She had a medical condition that caused her to start puberty very early and put on a lot of weight rapidly.
Oh.
And she's about 6 feet tall.
Whoa.
So she felt incredibly insecure and uncomfortable in her own skin because she's immediately, heads above all the other kids in class. And on top of that, Martha claims that her brother actually assaulted her.
Gross.
And sexually assaulted her. And when her mother found out, she blamed Martha.
I'm just done with people generally.
So then she locked Martha down. Like she wouldn't let Martha go anywhere for fear that Martha would cause that to happen again.
Jesus.
I know. I hope you hear the sarcasm. So Martha is hypercritical of her appearance. She has no friends and she's repressing all this childhood trauma. So when Raymond pays attention to her, that's very exciting, right? But Martha is very smart. She went to high school, and then after high school, she went to nursing school, and she graduated at the top of her class, so she's a nurse. But her life, it doesn't ever find the right path. She ends up having 2 children, and she's briefly married to the father of her second child, but they're only married for a few months. They don't even stay together for the baby to be born because Martha finds out he has a whole second life. He's got 4 other kids and another lady. Yeah. So she keeps having to return to her mother, and her mother is super controlling. They have that weird dynamic, and her mother takes her paycheck. Her mother controls her life. Her mother belittles her.
Ugh.
So she has this weekend with Raymond, and it's just like a breath of fresh air for her. Somebody who's paying attention to her because she doesn't know that he's trying to con her. And over the course of that weekend, Raymond finds out that Martha's not really wealthy.
Bye.
So he decides to drop her as a mark. He goes back to New York, and then he writes her, a letter breaking up with her. Now, sources vary on what happens next. Some say that Martha attempted death by suicide, and once Raymond found out, he invited her to New York. Others say that Martha just showed up on Raymond's doorstep and begged for a second chance. Either way, Martha ends up in New York with her 2 kids, with Raymond, and he lets them stay.
What?
They're there for not very long, like days, weeks. And Raymond says, listen, I don't think this is going to work out because your kids are just too noisy. So she packs up. She goes to the Salvation Army and she surrenders her children.
Oh my God.
Who are 3 and 4.
Okay.
And she goes back to Raymond.
Pull it back a little bit there, hon.
And Raymond is so flattered by this sick act of loyalty. He lets her stay and then he clues her in on his con game. He tells her that he corresponds with all these women through the Lonely Hearts Club, mostly older women, and that's how he gets money, and she can help him, and together they can get enough money to get married and be together. And she's all in. Yikes.
Read the news, people. But I don't like to read the bad news.
Well,
because you find out about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Could you
Jeez,
imagine?
clueless.
Could you imagine at the drop of a hat just dropping your children off at the
Disgusting.
Salvation Army? Not even with your own mother or
Right.
sister. The
It's
Salvation
disgusting.
Army. Mm-mm. So the couple is now in it together. Martha doesn't know about Jane, I don't believe, but she's knows that this is a con. So the first woman they set their sights on is a 40-year-old named Esther Henney in Pennsylvania. She's a first grade teacher. Raymond goes to meet Esther in February of 1948, and he brings Martha along. He always says that she's either his sister-in-law or his sister. And he's using it as a way to make women more comfortable, right?
Yep.
Because women let their guard down when
Totally.
there's another woman, which is
Yep.
the code. You don't break that as a woman.
Yeah, it's fucked
It makes-
up. Your hair?
Yeah. So Raymond works fast, and Esther and Raymond get married on February 28th. They've just met.
Leap year. Oh,
No, 28th.
right,
That's
not
normal.
29th.
So they head back to New York because Raymond has that spacious apartment. And as soon as they get married, he changes. And he wants immediately Esther to take out a life insurance policy and name him as the beneficiary. And he wants her to sign her pension over to him. Esther refuses, and Raymond gets really grumpy. And Esther doesn't understand what's happening, but she still refuses and she holds strong.
Good for you, Esther.
She also finds out that 2 of her rings and a watch of hers are missing. And then she finds a pawn ticket in the car that belongs to Martha Beck. She also hears rumors around the apartment complex that the woman who lived there before her, Jane, mysteriously disappeared and never came back from Spain.
I just want to call this out. If it was a train accident, there'd be a news article. Say it was a car accident or something else. Just advice to the guy.
I know. So Esther, I forgot. She also suspects that on more than one occasion, she has been slipped a sleeping pill.
Gross.
She only stays for 3 days.
Good for you, Esther.
I know. Good on you. She gets out. She just leaves and she contacts the lawyer and she tries to get some of her money back. She gets some of it back, but she realizes.
But she has her life.
Exactly. And she realizes real quick that this is not right. And she gets out and she survives.
She should tell the police, like, this guy needs to have a red label on his face.
I know. Awful. So in May of the same year, Raymond starts talking to Myrtle Young from Arkansas. And they meet that summer and they're married on August 14th with Martha serving as the maid of honor.
Oh, Martha.
Think of how demented this is.
You are so bad.
Martha thinks that her and Raymond are in love. And she has to sit there and watch him marry and be with other women. Ugh. And he tells her like he won't be with other women intimately, but obviously he is. He's marrying these women.
You have to consummate the marriage.
Literally all of our knowledge is from Outlander. So as soon as they're married, he starts wanting access to Myrtle's money. And Myrtle says, well, my bank's in Arkansas. Like, I don't have it. He gets livid, won't talk to her. So she immediately transfers all her money to a local bank and opens up a joint account and takes out enough money to buy Raymond a brand new car.
I do have a random question. Should I save it for the end?
No, but just let it fly.
Okay, so do you think Arkansas and Kansas were ever pronounced the same in our history of America?
What do you mean?
So think of the spelling of Arkansas. It's Arkansas.
You think they were Kansas and Arkansas?
Yeah, right? Because is it a French word? I mean, I feel so bad for like English as a second language people coming in. They're like, here's Kansas.
Yeah, try to say yacht or sachet. I mean, you're not going to get there.
I mean, I'm not even going to get that.
Yeah. Sachet yourself.
But I'd like to do some digging into that.
Great. I'll let you do that on your own time.
Thanks.
So after just a couple days, Myrtle starts getting nervous. She wants to know where her money is and she wants it in the bank. And Raymond kind of keeps pushing her off. And then Raymond or Martha give Myrtle a little bit of medicine. And Myrtle gets a very bad stomach ache.
Oh, no.
And one of the newspapers reported that Myrtle tried to leave that very same night that she was given the medicine. And Martha took her to a bus, and
No.
Myrtle got off the bus and ran into the police station and said, "These people are stealing my money and they're holding me hostage." And Martha walked right up behind her and said, "Oh, she's sick. I'm taking her to the doctor right now."
No.
And the policeman let her go.
Why?
The next morning, Myrtle was put on a bus by Raymond as Martha drained the accounts, and Myrtle did not make it home. Halfway through the journey, she slipped into a coma.
I hope all those cops feel bad about themselves.
She died of a cerebral hemorrhage on August 21st.
Jeez.
So before August is even done, the two travel again, this time to meet Irene de la Pointe in my hometown in Vermont. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
I know.
Isn't it a small town?
Yes, it's a very small town. It's like 10,000 people. I bet it wasn't even that many in the 40s. Now, for some reason, Irene's a little different to Martha. She's the youngest. She's 39, which might be part of it. But I think she also might be attractive because Martha is jealous of Irene right out of the gate, and she's getting kind of mad about things. And Raymond proposes after, like 5 seconds, and they start the process of getting a marriage certificate. Martha finds this out, and she becomes furious, and she pulls Irene aside and tells her that Raymond's corresponding with all of these women and that it's a con game.
Oops.
And so Irene kicks them both out.
Bye.
And Irene's life is spared. I mean, Martha saved Irene's life.
Yep.
After that, Martha leaves Raymond for a minute because she says it's too tough to watch him be with other women.
Yeah.
I hear you. But she ends up going back.
Oh,
By November 1948, she goes back to Raymond, and they're on to their next mark, which is a 66-year-old woman named Janet Fay. Raymond's in his 30s, and Martha's in her late 20s.
Okay.
To give you the age gap. So Janet and Raymond have been corresponding for a while, and they decide to meet on New Year's Eve. Now, Janet takes Raymond and his sister Martha around the town. They're in Albany. Yeah, and they decide to get married. He proposes. They decide to get married. She clears out her Albany bank accounts, which is about $6,000.
Wow.
And they move to her apartment in Long Island on January 4th, 1949.
Long Island.
Now, what causes the next chain of events is unclear. I don't think we'll ever truly know. Some accounts say that Janet started worrying about her money, like the other women, and she wanted to know where it was, and she wanted it back, and Raymond told Martha to keep her quiet. Others say that Martha walked in on Raymond and Janet in an intimate moment.
As a man and a woman.
Correct. And she lost her mind. I don't know what's true, but either way, Martha took a hammer and attacked Janet, striking her in the skull. And then Raymond took a scarf and tied it around Janet's neck and strangled her to death.
What? Why? What are we going to do with this?
Martha says that she blacked out, and when she came to, Janet was dead at her feet, and Raymond was screaming, "What have you done?"
I don't believe that.
So the couple wrap Janet in sheets, and they put her in the closet, and then they go to bed.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Are you kidding me? I can't even go to bed after I see someone wrapped up on the movie screen.
I can't even go to bed if I've gone to the grocery store too late. It's exciting.
Sorry.
Serious. The next day, they go shopping for a trunk.
Oh boy, not the fucking trunk. Are we going to get the butcher knife out?
Well, they actually had to buy 2 trunks because the first one was too small.
Okay.
None of these people measure. I don't understand. Anyway, they get a trunk, they put her body in it, and they take it to Raymond's sister's house. And they're like, "Hey, can we just store our trunk in your basement for a few days? Thanks." She has no idea.
No, it's going to smell.
Well, they store it in the basement, but they come back for it on January 15th. They come back, they get the trunk. They've rented a place in the city that has a basement.
Oh my God.
And they rent it, and they dig a hole in the basement, and they spend 2 days covering that hole with cement flawlessly so that there's no line. And then they go to the landlord and say, "Whoops, we changed our mind. Please inspect the place top to bottom. Make sure everything's in order." They drain all of Janet's bank accounts, and Janet has family. So they start writing letters to her family as Janet, saying she's having a wonderful time. Yeah.
It's sick.
Yeah, this has taken a real turn on Martha's part,
Yeah.
right?
She is.
Just to do a psych break here for a second.
Psych break.
Psych break. When couples do this, right, there's a dominant and there's a submissive personality, but each of them is getting something from the other one that they crave or need, and it justifies their actions. So the leader of this duo usually craves just absolute loyalty and loves the devotion of the weaker personality and the psychological control that they have. Yeah, which is why I think Raymond just loved when Martha got rid of her children. I can't think of something
that's the ultimate
more
act of
intense
loyalty
than that. And then the subservient person craves the power and authority that the dominant person has because they lack that so much in their life, and they try to morph into that person and become dependent on them.
Yeah.
Now, the dominant person usually has an eye for like picking out people who will fit that submissive role, but they'll also execute it with tests usually. So they'll state something as like a joke and see how people respond to it. So
I see. That's what assholes do regularly anyway. Like just like not murderous people, but like that's what they'll do.
Yeah,
and then
like,
they'll flip it on you like when you say that's not funny.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
You listening? We know. We caught you. We see your game. This is how bad it could get.
Which one of you insulted Alana this week? Because watch yourself. So like Raymond, I imagine when he told her that he was really Raymond and not Charles Martin and that he had this con game, I bet if she had gotten mad, he would have been like, I'm just kidding. You're my one and only. Right?
Yeah.
But she didn't. She accepted it.
Totally.
And so in 2002, a study was published by a forensic psychologist and a former FBI agent, and they studied 20 women who had been accomplices in a serious crime, not necessarily murder, but a serious crime.
Okay.
And it's a small sample size, but that's because, luckily this isn't just all over the place. And they studied women simply because that's the most common breakdown. It's usually the man in the dominant role and then the female and the submissive, but it can be same sex. It can be flipped where the woman's the dominant.
Sure.
It can even be people who aren't romantic, like just friends.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
So they studied these women and they found out that they all had some things in common. They'd all suffered physical and or sexual abuse in their past. They all came from middle-class backgrounds, which was...
That's random.
I know, be poor or be rich, I guess. And they all were incredibly insecure, often having a personality disorder.
Wow.
And their partners would escalate one step at a time. So the men would start off with this like intense show of affection to fill the void that they were experiencing and creating intimacy and learning secrets about the women that they would later use against them and hold over them and use them to control. And then they would just push the envelope one act at a time, which is exactly what you're seeing here with Martha, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to con Esther for her money. We're not going to hurt her. See, she's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to, we're just going to do the same thing to Irene. We're not going to hurt her. Just like one thing at a time. Oh, we're just going, I don't know what happened to Myrtle, right?
That's how you just slowly lead people in.
And eventually these women would commit an act that they say they hated.
Yeah.
But they would do it because they were either scared or they craved the love and acceptance of the dominant person.
Oh, brother.
So to me, that perfectly describes what we're seeing with Martha and Raymond. Yeah. So Janet's family, though, is on to them because they're sending all of these letters with a typewriter. With a typewriter. Typewriter. A word I can't say, episode 2. And
wow, was that episode 2?
Yeah.
Also set in New York.
And they're saying, hey, Janet doesn't know how to use a typewriter. Why is she typing her letters?
Sucker.
So they're curious. So they decide to get out of town. And they get out of town and go to Raymond's next mark, which is Delphine Downing.
That is an amazing name.
It's a beautiful name. And her almost 2-year-old daughter right now. Now, Delphine was born in 1917. She's the youngest of 4 girls. She grew up on 3,000 acres in Nebraska on a ranch.
Oh, wow.
After high school, she became a teacher. And in 1942, she met her future husband, Roland Downing, but
Oh, no.
they had a long-distance relationship because he was in the Army.
Yep.
So they didn't get married till 1944, and when they do, they moved to Michigan. They bought a house. They had Raynell in 1946. And Roland was on the road a lot. He was a truck driver, and his goal was to open his own mechanic shop at some point, but he wanted to save up money to do that. So
Yeah.
being a trucker,
Truck driving is a good job.
yeah, you earn a lot of money. It's a lot of
I could never do it, though.
yeah, me either. Hard work.
I fucking hate long drives.
Yeah, I know. I can barely make it across town. And but sadly, in 1947, Roland got in a truck accident,
Ugh. You
and
make
he
it out of the
died.
war.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
After her husband's death, Delphine doesn't have any interest in getting remarried, but she's lonely. So, I mean, this is a few years later, right?
Yeah.
This is 1949. End of 1948. She starts writing to men via this correspondence club that she's joined. And she doesn't tell anyone because she's a little embarrassed. And she starts writing to a nice man who loves children named Charles Martin.
He does not love children, I'll tell you that right now.
No, and that's just one of the things he plays, right? Like with Janet was very religious. So guess who else was very religious?
Right. You find what matters to them and you adopt that.
And here's an example of one of the letters Delphine wrote to Charles. Dear Charles, thank you for the thoughtful Christmas greetings. Christmas was busy, but the lull afterward gives me such an empty, lonely feeling. New Year's Eve, I kept the neighbors' children so they could go out, and they were sleeping peacefully. The only noise was when the dog howled at midnight. I've been having trouble with my old car. Maybe I should have bought a new one, but I hate to spend so much when it could be used for Raynell's future. Do you like children, Charles? I hope you do, because if we continue to correspond, I will mention Raynell often. I have a nice 2-stall garage, and it is still full of my husband's tools, but I'm getting many things sold. I live outside the city limits in a nice section. I hope I don't break the rules of friendship correspondence by writing you before you have time to consider my last letter. Sincerely, Delphine Downing.
Oh boy, she's showing signs of desperateness.
Yeah, so exactly. So he is picking her because, one, he thinks she's rich because she said, oh, she should buy a new car.
Yeah.
Oh, she has a nice house outside of town. Oh, she's selling a lot of tools and things like that. She's also appearing very eager because she's like skipping ahead and writing a letter out of turn. The truth is that she doesn't have very much money at all, other than what she owns.
Because she wouldn't be selling tools otherwise.
I know.
Clued me into that.
And she can't afford another car. She just was talking.
Yeah.
But they arrive January 1949, and to Delphine, Charles, the man she's been talking to for weeks, happens to be in town for a business meeting with his sister Martha. And could they possibly meet?
No.
And Raymond and Martha check into a hotel, and then they go to visit Delphine. Within a few hours, Delphine encourages them to come stay at the house and cancel the hotel.
No.
Yeah. Now, they stay for a while. And they tell people they're engaged, and then they tell people that they're already married. The 4 of them, Delphine, Raynell, Raymond, and Martha, actually travel to Nebraska to meet Delphine's family.
Oh my God.
And Delphine is telling them that she met Raymond through Martha because Martha's a nurse and that Raymond is a civil engineer.
He's a civil con man. He's an uncivil con man, actually.
And when they return from this trip, Delphine sells the house and gives the money to Raymond and gets a new car and opens up a joint account. It's like everything she has. But she thinks now that they're married that they'll have money together, you know?
Nope.
And Delphine's neighbors they start to notice. They're close with Delphine. She watches their children, and they notice Delphine acting weird and isolated and not herself, and they're skeptical. So they're on alert. So just like with Janet, there was some sort of incident that we'll never know. Some sources say that Delphine walked into the bathroom when Raymond was changing, and Raymond wore a toupee. And he didn't tell her, and so she freaked out because he had lied to her and disguised his appearance, and she thought it was weird that he hadn't told her. Other accounts say that Delphine was lending money to her sister, and Raymond freaked out and got mad at her.
Oh.
Either way, Delphine becomes very upset, and Martha, the nurse and the supportive sister, gives Delphine some pills to calm her down.
No.
Now, it's believed that this was an actual attempt to kill her, but it wasn't a high enough dose to do that. And when Delphine tries to wake up, Raymond gets a gun from inside the house and he shoots Delphine at point blank range.
Oh my God.
He buries her in the basement and he covers it with cement, just like he did with Janet. He happened to have cement on hand, just FYI.
That's weird.
Now, here's the worst part. For 2 days, the couple stay in the house just cashing out all of the accounts and selling everything that they can before they leave. And they argue over what to do with Raynell. Raynell is not even 2. They talk of keeping her, but they think that will be too risky. And
Can send her to her grandparents.
I know, drop her on a fucking doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. And run.
And get out of town.
Oh my God, please.
She starts crying because she misses her mother and she's perhaps witnessed what had happened the day before. And she won't stop. And you want an earmuff? Martha takes Raynell down into the basement, and there's a basin of water that they had used to dig out Delphine's grave because it had started to fill with water because once they started digging, the basement had water levels. And Martha drowned Raynell in that basin of water.
Beck.
Raymond places Raynell next to her mother, and then they go to the movies.
I hate them, and I hope really bad things happen to them. And slow and painful.
So the neighbors are super suspicious because they haven't seen Delphine now for 2 days. So again, sources vary on this. Some say the neighbors called the police. Some say the neighbors called the in-laws. Either way, the neighbors and the in-laws contacted the police. The police go to Delphine's house. Raymond and Martha are getting ready for bed, but their car is fully packed as if they're getting ready to leave in the morning. They ask where Delphine and Raynell are, and Raymond makes up a story about they went to Detroit, which nobody believes. So they search Raymond and they find thousands of dollars in cash on him.
Fucking idiot.
Plus a list that has over 100 names of women and a dollar figure next to them, and the first 17 have check marks next to them.
What?
So they search the house and they find wet cement in the basement. And they immediately dig up the body of Delphine Downing. They take Raymond and Martha into custody. That list that they had has Janet Faye right at the top. So they look that name up. They find out that she is a potentially missing woman in New York because her family has started asking questions. And now they're really curious about what's going on. So they have Raymond and Martha in custody. They search the rest of the Downing home. They find several of Janet Faye's things at Delphine's house.
Wow.
Including a pair of really distinctive gold earrings that Janet had that later are referred to as the golden handcuffs because they clearly tie the two of them to Janet.
Yeah.
They also find the will of Jane Wilson Thompson, which had clearly been forged by obtaining Jane's signature on a blank piece of paper.
Oh.
So at this point, Raymond knows he's caught. They found Delphine's body. They found Jane's forged will. They found Janet's things.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to stay in Michigan because they don't have a death penalty. So he and Martha confess to the murders of Janet, Delphine, and Raynell.
Well, what about Myrtle?
Nope. They don't speak of Myrtle. Now, Raymond tells police where to find both Raynell and Janet. They find Janet in the basement of that building. They perform an autopsy on Janet. She had blunt force trauma, but the official cause of death was strangulation.
Mm-hmm.
However, the head trauma was so severe that she would not have survived it.
Got it.
So do what you will with that. Police also start investigating all the other names on the list.
Yeah.
Especially the ones with the check marks. Raymond says that that just means they're a good match, but police are worried that these women are dead or missing. They go through the entire list, and some of the women are in the Lonely Hearts Club and some say they're not. I don't know how they're getting their names if they're not, or maybe the women are just embarrassed and don't want to admit it, but every other woman on that list is accounted for.
Wow.
From day one, the press paints Martha as the dominant one in the relationship.
Why?
Which I don't believe for a second. Well, Raymond's better at being charming. He's a true sociopath, I believe.
Yep, 20%.
Now, Martha, she's not pretty. She also has a tic, which makes it look like she's always laughing or smiling.
Oh, boy.
But she's not. It's just a nervous tic. They also attack her for her size, which drives me nuts. Not because I care about Martha's feelings in this instance, but I just get so sick of people tying morality to being fat or thin. Meanwhile, the newspapers are talking about Raymond. They're calling him a balding Romeo. And they're like, he's no Gregory Peck, but he is charming. Which I didn't know Gregory Peck was such a heartthrob, but
yeah,
there you have it. He was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah,
So
look
excited.
at those pictures.
Yeah, a little To Kill a Mockingbird later.
Yeah.
So they're creating this narrative that Raymond was scared and controlled by Martha.
Give me a break.
Now, Martha has already full on confessed. She says, I'll take full blame for it. I'm guilty and I'm not asking for another chance. She's also writing love letters to Raymond.
Perfect. But they're both in jail.
Yes. Raymond is saying he doesn't know why she's even still around and he never really liked her.
That's nice.
Yeah. Now, remember, they want to stay in Michigan, right? Because they want a chance to live and possibly even get parole.
Oh my God, I will freak out if that happens.
So they claim that they only confessed because that's what they were promised. But New York has other ideas. And after much back and forth, they are sent to New York to be tried for Janet Faye, which is a state that has the death penalty, which has been in a ton of cases lately that we've talked about. This would not be allowed today, but Martha and Raymond have the same defense attorney. And it would not be allowed today because typically the defense attorney would try to use one person against the other to get one of their clients off.
Right.
Also, Raymond has claimed that he's completely broke.
How is that possible?
And so he doesn't have to pay for his defense. The state pays for it, but Martha has to pay for hers.
Still conning.
Yeah. So the trial officially starts June 27th, 1949. The defense claims that Raymond is completely innocent and that Martha is insane.
That's terrible.
Raymond, on the stand, says that he was under Martha's influence and did everything for her. He even lied to the police so that she could go free.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. He's real gross. The police had so much evidence from Janet's home and her body when her body was discovered. They have both trunks that have evidence on it because remember they had this too small trunk.
Yep.
And they have the trunk that she was actually in, and they have the sheets that she was wrapped in. They also have the letters written by Janet after her death. And like I said, they were on a typewriter, which Janet didn't use. And they appeared under further examination. They were also done just like Jane's will. They were written on a piece of paper that had one word on it that Raymond had gotten rid of, and she had signed the bottom of it. Okay. Now, again, Raymond's pinning everything on Martha, said he had nothing to do with murdering Janet because they're only being tried for Janet. So they're not talking about Delphine or Renaud. He also goes into graphic detail about his love life, which apparently is so yucky that the newspapers don't even print it.
Wow.
I don't know. Who knows? But Raymond then also professes his love for Martha, even though previously to the police, he was like, oh, she's the worst. I don't know why she's hanging around. He professes his love for Martha and says he was just trying to protect her this whole time. Like that's his story. He just keeps sticking with it. Now, it's worth mentioning there's an additional theory by forensic scientists today that believe Martha might not have killed anyone, but she may have confessed to save Raymond. So it's exactly what Raymond is saying might be true in the reverse. And this is because Martha is actually left-handed, and Janet was believed to have been hit by a right-handed person due to the directionality of the blows. And Martha admits that she blacked out. So it's possible. I don't know. It's possible in the case of Janet Faye. Now, the defense tries to say Martha's insane. She didn't know what she was doing. They claim that she's attempted self-harm and death by suicide, which I believe that she probably had. And they bring up the child abuse. this idea that Raymond is totally innocent, people aren't buying it.
Okay, good.
So both Martha Beck and Raymond Fernandez are found guilty on August 18th, 1949, and they are sentenced to death. August 22nd, they're transported to the death house, which we've talked a lot about. So many people have been going to Sing Sing. Martha is actually in the same cell as Ruth Snyder.
What?
And she's the only female in the prison, which is not the first. There's another woman who is also, can't remember who it was, also in that same cell. Like several of these women have shared this cell in Sing Sing. Now, Raymond continues to appeal.
Yep.
Martha's just accepted it. She's like, this is it for me. I've done terrible things.
You have. Raymond
continues to appeal, and he hires another lawyer. For a second, they explore the shared psychosis defense. Yeah. No, doesn't work. Death sentence remains. So for the day of their execution, there are 24 seats to witness this death, and hundreds of people are asking to see it.
That's so weird. It's so weird.
No one from Delphine or Raynell's family wants to attend, but they do write a letter that they ask to be read out loud. Now, the execution is set for March 8th, 1951. Both Raymond and Martha have their last meals. Martha has Southern fried chicken, French fries, and salad. Raymond has onion omelet, tomatoes, and almond ice cream. What the hell is an onion omelet? Just onions?
Oh, it's probably a really Spanish thing, Spain Spanish. So
according to you, so is necrophilia. So I don't know.
Hey, I mean, this guy's not helping that case.
Just kidding. We love you, Spain. You're beautiful.
Yeah, I hear that. Wait, can people really choose their last meals? I thought that was just. I mean, like, could you get a slice of cheese and bagel schmear?
Why did you pick the most basic, easiest thing to get? I mean, like, I thought you were gonna say, like, could you go to a nice restaurant and ask for a filet mignon?
It's comfort food.
Yeah, but you're like, excuse, could I just have a bagel with a little bit of crepe cheese?
But can you really ask? I didn't know that was actually you are actually served your last meal that you want.
I don't know how you could have an appetite.
Yeah, and I hope we're never in that situation.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah. Knock on wood. So Martha releases a statement before her execution, and Newsday reported it as the following. I have sinned, and society will know that I am paying this debt. The sin is great, and so is the penalty. This is not the minute to speak of who is to blame. What is in the past must remain in the past.
No.
Only those tortured by love, as I was, can know what I mean. I was pictured as a fat, unfeeling woman. True, I am fat. But if that were a crime, how many of my sex would be guilty?
Yeah.
I am not without feeling. I am not stupid. I am not a moron. I am a woman who has had a great love and always will have. Prison and the death house have only strengthened my love for Raymond.
What the fuck?
In the history of the world, how many crimes have been attributed to love? Here are my last words and my last thoughts. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. I love Raymond.
Ew, gag.
I mean, I think you can really see, like, that paints a perfect picture of how I imagine Martha to be. Like, she's a submissive one. She's clearly got some issues.
Like, you love a murderer.
Yeah. Now, Raymond, this also sounds like a perfect sociopath response. Raymond, I'm going to die. As you know, I have been prepared to die since 1949. I'm going to die like a man. Ugh. What the hell does the public know about love? The news brought to me that Martha loves me is the best I have had in years. Now I am ready to die. Ugh. Yuck. Get out of here.
Like, what Martha's trying to compare to is like great romantic thing. Like, it's not comparable.
No.
I'm just getting upset about it.
Yeah, no. No.
You're just a fucking petty, murderous people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once a child's involved, I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm out for the ladies too, but I mean, that's just a line that you just can't.
Yep.
I mean, the second she abandoned her own kids, I was like, okay,
red flag.
We have some deep-seated issues. Now, Martha and Raymond were 2 of the 4 prisoners executed that day. And you'll remember from the Ruth Snyder case, they have the executions go in order from weakest to strongest based on what the prison staff decides. So Martha goes last.
Right, because she's biggest.
Yeah. Now, Martha's body was claimed by her mother and buried in Florida. And no one ever claimed the body of Raymond Fernandez. Bye. Those are the Lonely Hearts Club killers. What do you think? Besides yuck.
Is the Lonely Hearts, like, did they get a memo that maybe they need to take care of stuff and, like, protect the people?
Did they get a memo? Did they get just like a quick email that maybe they should tone it back? I mean, this was front page news, and it was spanning all over. People were calling in from all over the country wondering if, hey, this so-and-so is missing. Do you think that these guys had anything to do with it? I mean, people knew about it. So I don't know. I don't know if the Lonely Hearts Club really tanked after that. I'm willing to bet their subscriptions dwindled a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it really, the Lonely Hearts Club has just like morphed into different versions, right? Like newspaper ads.
Yeah. Tinder.
The Tinders and stuff of the world. And like, there's definitely been dangers with it. I mean, Craigslist for a hot second.
Yes. Craigslist was scary.
Was really scary.
Yeah. I mean, it still happens today. Like this is not something that's unheard of. It's still happening today, even on the catfishing schemes that go on just for the money. And also, sadly, people are getting tricked and people are being injured or assaulted or murdered.
Yeah. So I guess I have 2 pieces of advice.
Lay it on me.
One, I've said it before, but we need to do better as society, probably across the world, honestly, of building the self-esteem of our girls. A lot of this, I think, came from like poor self-esteem and like the ability to be manipulated because you get attention or love or like anything like that. And it's just like, we need to be building self-esteem in girls like we do with boys way more naturally.
Yeah.
And like the placing all of the importance on beauty and looks and stuff in girls is just like really dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
This is a good example.
Second, right, exactly. The second thing is, I've known some people to get married quickly, and I'm not going to say don't do that, but if you get married within 3 months of meeting somebody and then they ask to like take all your money into their account, like maybe be suspicious. Be the Esthers of this case.
Absolutely.
Like that's a red flag. Like
absolutely.
I understand joining finances and stuff, but like why are we draining accounts? Why are we asking for money from other people? Let's look under the surface here.
Absolutely. And do you think if Martha had never met Raymond that she would have become a murderer?
Depends who found her next.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be manipulated no matter what.
Yeah. Her mother was manipulating her. But if she had just stayed with her mother, I don't think she would have hurt anybody else.
No. It just depended. I think whoever had her leash controlled her actions.
Yeah. Oof. And I don't feel empathy for adult Martha.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right? I mean, but yeah. Okay. Ugh.
Yeah. Do we know what happened to her kids?
I don't know. I don't know if her mother...
It's so rough.
Or her family went and got them, or if they went somewhere else. I don't know what I would even root for. That's so sad. I mean, they're certainly better off than having been with, into the
I mean,
next
they
few
could have
years.
been in danger.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks. All right, well, you can find us on all the platforms at...
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at...
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. And who should listen today?
Oh, boy. Mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, guardians, kindergarten teachers, elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, and high school teachers, after school daycare people, and sociopaths.
All right. That covers a wide list. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Leave us a review or a rating. Even if it's not a 5, we'll take it. We just like to hear the feedback.
Preferably in some sort of terrible accent. All right. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Well, we won't see you at all. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.